guys, it's Q. Thanks for joining us here at the Thoughts for Living podcast, where information is thoughtful and engaging. It's this week's episode.
We'd like to thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Thoughts for Living podcast. As in most cases, we would hope that if you find this episode useful, that you would go to thoughtsforliving.com, where you can find other episodes and information regarding this one as well. Also, we'd like to remind you that we do have our new children's book, We Are Humankind, available on our website. And currently, friends, you only have to pay shipping, so we're practically giving the book away. This will make an added treasure to your library at home and will certainly bring joy to you and your child. Also, while at the website, you can check out some of the new music that we have provided, and we are sure that you will enjoy that as well. Previously, we have been doing a series that has involved an overview of ecological consciousness theory. And we'd like to continue in that regard today. As you all may know who have followed, we are talking about ecological consciousness theory. And we suggest that our African ancestors bequeathed these values to us all. Those are value in the group, value in collaboration, value in spirituality, and valuing personhood. We also suggest that from the 16th century Enlightenment period, the European male has used consistently the idea of individualism, competition, secularism, which is idolatry, and personal achievement at all costs as a way of formulating human relations with each other. And we suggest, friends, that value system is not sustainable. Ecological consciousness theory suggests that our African ancestors learned the importance of valuing the group, collaboration, spirituality, and personhood. And this valuing is innate to all humanity. Again, the 17th century Enlightenment scholars and thinkers were predominantly white European males, and they developed ideas that valued the individual, that valued competition, that valued secularism, idolatry, and personal achievement at all costs. Now, these ideas and their narratives depict two very different ways of seeing and viewing our ecological context. The Afrocentric worldview sees the world more as we, whereas the Eurocentric lens really focuses life on I. With this in mind, today we'd like to discuss Afrocentric spirituality versus Eurocentric idolatry, or what is some termed secularism. Spirituality, from an Afrocentric perspective, develops out of the idea of we, or being part of a whole. We learn this through foraging for food and water and shelter, that we found out clearly that we were a part of the living order. We came to see life as a living, interrelated network. After learning to domesticate animals and to grow food, We saw our lives as part of the proverbial circle of life. Living taught our African ancestors that we could create children, and we saw our herds create offspring, and the seed we planted created crops. We lived because of creation. Creation is the physical expression of that which is spirit. Creation, what we can see, is the physical expression of that which is spirit, that which we can't see. Spirituality is Ubuntu, or it's the relationship between creation and the created. We live and we believe there is a creator, and life is its creation. The creator and creation is the genesis of the universal we. Now, let's contrast that with the Eurocentric secularism, or what ecological consciousness theory suggests is idolatry. Now, the Enlightenment was in part a rejection of the feudalism, a feudalistic system, the kings and monarchies. Also, these men, they wanted to end the practice of privilege and rights being granted only by birth. They also wanted to move away from the authority of the Catholic Church, because ideas like the world was flat and that the area below the Horn of Africa was inhabitable were proven wrong, in part by the travels of the Portuguese and Columbus. So rather than allow the Roman Catholic Church to be the only source for knowledge about the world and how it works, these men developed what they call the scientific method. Using observation, they sought to make science and philosophy the source of knowledge and to promote the rights of the individual and freedom for European white men. Now, as a result of the so-called birth of man was also the birth of race. Ecological consciousness theory suggests that the dethroning of God led to the enthroning of the European white man as the supreme representation of humanity, and thus began the worship of whiteness. In short, the Enlightenment period gave rise to secularism, which diminished the influence of the Roman Catholic Church in society. This period also made the rights of white men, individualism, competition, and acquiring status the main focus of their interests. The white man becomes the preeminent creator of knowledge and military technology, which allows him to dictate, if not controlled, world affairs, and so become the primary driver of modernity. But, my friends, this narrative reinforces false ideas of white supremacy, individualism, and survival of the fittest. Today, these values have evolved into Christian nationalism, which is sweeping across the U.S. and across European countries for that matter. And Christian nationalism is the worship of whiteness. And the worship of whiteness is idolatry. Thank you for your time, and we hope that you will enjoy the rest of your week.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us this week on this episode. Please reach out to us if you have any questions at thoughtsforliving.com. See you next week.